Ladies and gentlemen, we must call out AR Rahman's opportunism. Love his music, but his attempt to make a political statement not grounded in any reality has to be called out. He can't be allowed to get away by issuing a clarification, one in which he tries to again appear to be holier than thou. The fact is that he has made comments with a clear intention to play to the gallery and play to a certain gallery. He says that he's not getting enough work because of a power shift that has happened in the last 8 years. And he feels things have changed. He says there is prejudice that he is facing while working in the cinema industry because there has been a power shift in the last 8 years and people who are not creative have the power now. He has also said it is likely that what is happening in India is a communal thing. Mind it, ladies and gentlemen, he's speaking to some South Asian service of the British boring broadcasting corporation. And the BBC will love it. They will love an Indian who comes and attacks, abuses, criticizes India. They will love it because that's their whole intention, that's their whole purpose, that's their entire politics. My question is, AR Rahman, what has India not given you? Where have you been excluded? Where have you been made to feel that you have not got glory in your country? Because you're a Muslim. Because your clear intention is this. You've said there's a power shift in India, which is why things have changed. The reality is, what power shift are you talking about? Are you saying that because the BJP came to power, you're not doing as well? In that case, you should introspect. There's no point now saying that India is your inspiration, my teacher, your home, and you've tried to give a lecture to India on pluralism. You don't have to do that. The fact is, why did you go to a South Asian podcaster on the BBC and say that the film Chhawa is divisive? Which part of Chhawa did you find divisive? You want to know the reality. AR Rahman, you found it divisive because the aggressor, the villain was Muslim. And the person who fought back, the person who defended what is right was a Hindu. The problem is, AR Rahman, you do not like a negative character being Muslim and a positive, heroic character being Hindu. You call that divisiveness. We must twist it and ask, turn the tables and ask people like AR Rahman that, Mr. AR Rahman, would you have been happy if the villain had been, whether from a historical non-fiction piece or anywhere, if the villain had been a Hindu and the victim, the person valiantly fighting back, the braveheart, had been a Muslim? You would have never called the film divisive. The problem is with your approach and your thinking. It is your mindset, AR Rahman. Despite everything the country has given you, it is your mindset which is divisive. You need to heal your mindset. You need to work on your thinking. You need to introspect. You don't need to clarify. You need to apologize. I wonder if AR Rahman, ladies and gentlemen, would have gone on the BBC and spoken about the grooming gangs of London. What did AR Rahman have to say when he had that interview to talk about how 200 Sikhs rescued a teenager who was gang raped by Pakistani grooming gangs in London? Will he talk about that? No. Because the audience that AR Rahman wants to play to will not like what he says. They will not like AR Rahman talking to the BBC about the grooming gangs of London. Why does AR Rahman not show the mirror to the UK on how 200 members of the Sikh community chanted Jo Bole So Nihal, Sat Sri Akal, to rescue a 16-year-old girl held captive by a man in his late 30s? The Pakistani grooming gangs in the United Kingdom have been at the core of systemic sexual abuse of children for decades. Does AR Rahman have the guts to talk about it to the BBC? I can bet you he does not have the courage to talk about it. He wants to be politically correct and try to use expressions to criticize country, talk about the lack of multiculturalism in India. multiculturalism in India. AR Rahman, do you even know what you're talking about? Have you ever wondered how much this country has given you? You talk about the absence of opportunities, to talk about divisiveness in the Indian cinema industry. All the three top stars, male, in the Indian cinema industry, who are now 60 plus, have all been Muslim. And you say that in India we don't give opportunities, that there is divisiveness. You use this phraseology, you make these hints. Why do you talk like that? Why do you talk like that, AR Rahman? Because you think that some people in the UK will give you an applause. You think these are politically correct terms. You think that you have a lot to gain by representing yourself, by presenting yourself as some kind of a victim of prejudice in India. Where have you been a victim? Over the last 3 decades, where have you been a victim? Where has anyone come and told you, no, we will not come to your performance because you're a Muslim? We need to ask AR Rahman, ladies and gentlemen, whether he accepts that he's being an utter and absolute hypocrite. AR Rahman has been the voice of the most iconic rendition of Vande Mataram. Today, the nation must ask AR Rahman, and I didn't want to do this, but I'm asking him, will AR Rahman take on the radical Muslim voices in India who refuse to acknowledge Vande Mataram, sing Vande Mataram, stand up when Vande Mataram is played, refuse to accept the national song of India and call it Communal? Have I ever heard AR Rahman speak once against those communal characters, those radical elements who abuse and attack Vande Mataram? No, he won't. Because the fact is, AR Rahman wants to be a global voice. And he feels that by appealing to the woke crowd, he will have a better opportunity at being a global voice. Ladies and gentlemen, not much needs to be said about this. But I want to ask you, AR Rahman, why did you compose the track of Chava if you found it divisive? Who composed the track? Who took the money? Did you take the money? And now you go and say that this film was divisive, that you did not agree with it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want AR Rahman to give one example where the people of India boycotted a movie because the music composer was a Muslim. I really think that AR Rahman has to give us at least one example where Muslim singers, lyricists, directors, orchestras are denied collaboration due to the composer's religion. It is easy, AR Rahman, to go and say these things about your own country, the country that gave you everything. Because today you want to appeal to a British audience. Well, AR Rahman, ask yourself today, what is happening in the United Kingdom? Why has the far right emerged in the United Kingdom? Why is the Reform Party becoming so strong in the United Kingdom? Why are grooming gangs being allowed to sexually abuse young girls in the United Kingdom? Why don't you, AR Rahman, make the grooming gangs of the United Kingdom your number one agenda? Would you be able to do that, or would you play safe there, AR Rahman? The fact is, if he says that there is a power shift, which power shift is he talking about? Which religious prejudice is he talking about? And having made such grave allegations, he cannot get away by saying that he did not wish to cause pain. AR Rahman, the people of the country are very forgiving. You have not caused them pain. Rather, I would say, AR Rahman, the people of the country have a sense of disbelief at the manner in which you made these comments. You need to do much more than clarify. Clarification rejected.